Today I've ridden out west to see my old mate Phil and to have a look at his 1974 Suzuki T500 Titan L model that he's just finished restoring. And the first thing I asked him was, where did you get it?
I bought it from Seaford in Victoria as an import, American import, about 3 years ago. I restored it and you see it now is how it ended up. Powder-coated frame, different coloured tank, side colours, like the blue, which is a pale blue. Further green, they came out in the green on the earlier model in the Cobra. This is the Titan. The earlier 500s were called the Cobra. Come out in the green, I just prefer the green.
Did you say it was a Ford colour? Is that what you said?
Yeah, last model Falcon, or very similar to that. That's the closest they could match it with the colour I wanted. The motor's been first oversized. The only reason I did that is because I couldn't buy rings for it. So I just bought it out for the first oversize. Not that it needed it. It didn't really need it, but that's just what I do.
In 1967, it was generally considered that the largest reliable capacity for a two-stroke engine was 350 cc's. But in 1968, Suzuki pushed the boundaries and introduced a twin-cylinder, two-stroke 492 cc's engine, which produced 47 horsepower at 7,000 RPM. In 1969, the carbs were changed to 32mm, which didn't affect the performance at all, but did give better fuel economy. The first 500 model produced by Suzuki was known as the T500 and it had 34mm Mikuni carbs and had a top speed of 105 miles per hour, and at the time it was Suzuki's largest model. Produced from 1968 to 1976, the bike initially had some name changes. It was found that the original T500 had some handling issues, and subsequently the swing arm was lengthened and the new revised Mark II model was released with the name Cobra. Now, this is where things become interesting. At the time, the Ford Motor Company objected to the name as they had the Shelby Cobra, so Suzuki changed the name to Charger. However, the Dodge Motor Company objected as that was the name of one of their vehicles at the time, so Suzuki, once again, changed the name to Titan, and initially no one seemed to object to that name. No motor companies objected. However, United Kingdom accessory makers Reeds of Leytonstone had that name for their cafe racer kits, so rather than a total name change again for Suzuki, in the UK it was simply known as the T500, but the rest of the world knew it as the Titan. In 1977 saw the name changed again to the GT500, which brought the bike into line with the rest of the Suzuki model range. At the time, Suzuki had the GT380 and the GT550, each of those bikes having the Ram Air 3-cylinder engines. In 1978, due to increasing emissions regulations, especially in the United States, which was Suzuki's largest market, the GT500 was officially dropped. In the 10 years of production, Suzuki sold 100,000 500s. During its 10-year production run, the little Suzuki gained a reputation for reliability and being virtually bulletproof. This was due to the fact that the engine, when designed, was really over-engineered, so much so that bikes were raced in standard form just with the motor the way it was, and they're still raced today. The little Suzuki T500 is considered to be one of the most underrated motorcycles of all time. During my time with Phil today, he reminded me that his T500 was never intended to be a perfect restoration. That was never his intention.
What do we call it? A rider's restoration.
I call it a rider's
Yeah.
restoration.
It's not a show restoration. It's a resto to be ridden. Mate, it's just lovely.
Riding with Phil today was one of those days that was just superb. The weather was great, the roads were relatively empty. They weren't in all that great a condition, but it didn't matter. Most of the time I spent riding behind the little 500, experiencing the joys of two-stroke blue smoke. This was a result of Phil having recently stripped the motor down, once again, to change the main bearing seals. In fact, this was the first time the bike had been ridden since they were replaced. Initially there was a lot of smoke, but by the end of the ride the excess oil had been burnt and the bike was running very cleanly indeed. While I was out seeing Phil, he did show me his Suzuki GS1000G 1980 model, but that will be the subject of another video. I hope you've enjoyed the video today, and if you have, you might like to give a thumbs up and maybe even subscribe down below. So until next time, thanks for watching, go well.